What's up, Tristan? Okay, Sep. I got the microphone in my mouth. Everybody can hear me. It's looking like Shib wanted to reach 3-3. Yeah, Shib, huge day for Shib. Huge day. Thanks, Road Brew. Yeah, the issue with Monero is it's really not traded anywhere and doesn't get a lot of love generally. Thanks, Kay. Doesn't get a lot of love generally. Alright, it's 2 o'clock. Let's get started. Got the hodl hat on. We are hodling. I gotta get a new hat because I need like a rocket emoji or something hat. We are following the path. It's odd that this exists. It's odd that there's this repeated 680 days from the low of the last cycle is where we start to take off. You can see along this path, if you draw like an imaginary average, we can deviate, but there's pretty clearly a line that we've held. Will we continue to hold this line? I don't know. Will we overshoot or undershoot? I don't know. But it's a pretty good theoretical roadmap, I suppose. And this is day 674. So we are exactly where we should be relative to previous lows. It just so happens that China decided to print an infinite amount of money supporting assets, supporting banks, supporting people. Commodities are ripping, metals are ripping, NASDAQ, S&P at highs, BTC ripping. It's always like we have this idea, this theoretical, what's going to happen based on liquidity cycles or whatever. But until you actually get the catalyst for that, until rates actually come down, we might get another 50-point cut in November. The election could be a nothing burger one way or the other for markets, but so far things are lining up very interestingly based on what you'd expect to see. So it really shouldn't be a surprise that what we wanted to see, which was more liquidity, or not necessarily what we wanted to see, even what we expected to see, just because the only way out of this debt mess is just keep printing money, keep rates low, keep liquidity high, inflate the debt away by just making more. For China, I think they're trying to get out of their deflationary death spiral. And a great way to do that is to print a bunch of money. What's up, Dad? So here we are, right where we should be. And you can see early 450 days, we sort of overshot the theoretical path. And maybe this path is some like mathematical unrealized P&L ceiling and floor, you know, like this was 4x using this cycle index. If we started at 1 at the bottom and we got to 4 on the index, that's what, a 4x move? Okay, what's the next move going to be? The next move is 4 to 12, so that's a 3x move from here. A 3x move from here brings us to 150, 210, I don't know, right? That's like in the wheelhouse of expectations. So there really shouldn't be any surprises for people if we break higher, if we continue to break out. All dips should be bought and that sort of thing. Not financial advice, but that's just what we expect to see based on the past, right? There's no guarantees, but 4 to 12, that's what you don't want to mess up. You could have been chopped to absolute oblivion for the past 200 days. But you really don't want to mess this up. You really do not want to mess this next move up if it's a breakout. I'm just hedging my bets here in case we just sell off to 60 and there's some Mt. Gox coins that are moved or whatever. But looks good. All the metrics look good. Looking at the BTC ETF flows, overall, this week has been decently good. You know, we don't need anything insane. And realistically, we don't want crazy inflows every day, because that's typically, you know, we'll probably see that at 200 days from, what is this? This is, we'll say 100 days. So yeah, so like Q1 2025, if by Q1 2025 we start to see crazy inflows, which we know typically that's people who are late, people who haven't been paying attention, people who are exit liquidity for people who've been here for a minute, right? So if we start to see crazy flows and price doesn't go anywhere, and we're 100 days out and we're at 150 to 200 or whatever the price is at that time, that's a huge bearish divergence, a huge warning sign, something to watch for. But to get this like maintenance 200 million a day, I don't think is anything crazy at all. So we look good on that front. We even had some shuffling of ARC and Fidelity potentially going into IBIT. You know, who knows what's actually going on there, but there was even some outflows yesterday. On ETH, everyone is obsessed with any positive number, any number that is not negative. They are obsessed with the flows, which is fine. It feels a lot like Cope to me. If BTC is above 65, above 70, you know, ETH is going to be bottomed here. The question is the pair ETH BTC. What does that look like? Typically, ETH does best Q1 and Q2. Typically, alts are lagging behind BTC. And now that there's even more alts, we have SHIB up 20% today. We have tons of alts up. Why would most people, you know, if they love to go down the risk curve, right? They don't want to just trade BTC. They want to trade MSTR. They don't want to just trade MSTR. They want to trade MSTX. They don't want to just trade ETH. They want to trade the riskiest, highest leverage stuff. So that's going to be competing with what's going on here as far as price action. But yes, flows, positive flows for the past 2 days. Sure. It's no 200 million. It's, what is it? It was sub 100 million. So it's something. It's something, I guess. Looking at the quarterly returns stuff, Q3 are positive, which typically for BTC, Q3 is not so great. September's not so great. I think everybody knows that. Typically Q2 has been positive. Q2 this year was not positive. So maybe that's helping us here. This is all about like mean reversion and do we have enough momentum and catalyst to push us in successive quarters. So from Q2 to Q3, I don't really think we had much going on, but on a relative basis, we returned to the range, right? Now Q3 to Q4, you'd expect Q4 to be a large positive move if we break out, right? For ETH, it's probably going to be hard for ETH to have a more negative quarter than Q3. That's a huge negative quarter for ETH. Most of the ETH stuff is out at this point by the looks of it, by the looks of the flows. So it probably won't have a crazy Q4, but it'll probably be positive. And the crazy quarter for ETH is probably going to be Q1, if I had to guess. This is BTC's best September on record since 2013, and probably even going back since inception, since creation, since BTC was first trading. as a few people have pointed out, positive Septembers have led to full-blown positive following 3 months, full-blown bullishness for every month in Q4. We, of course, have the election this year. The last election was 2020. Didn't really matter for BTC in Q4. The one before that, 2016, that was one of the years we had 4 green quarters in a row. So if we're trying to like think about Q4 versus Q1, if we do have 4 green quarters in a row, Q1 2025 for BTC, probably going to be flat or red, if you had to guess, right? Like, what are the odds we see 5 months, 5 bullish months in a row? We've only seen that a few times. So this will be something to think about. Again, if we're at 150 or 210 or whatever, going into January, when we already have this seasonal weakness, typically in Q1, if we're up 4 months in a row, right? This is just things to think about going to January. What do the flows look like? What does the TA look like? For ETH also, let's see. September is typically not great for ETH. October is great for ETH though. Second best month out of all of them, aside from February. And we're just looking at this. This is like the farmer's almanac, right? Like, when's the best time to harvest your crops type deal? This is no guarantee, but yeah, so October should be good. November and December, more of a mixed bag. But January, February, March, typically when ETH does better. So on a relative basis, would I want to position more into ETH here currently? I don't. I think BTC has room to run. I think if you want to position into ETH, you do that deeper into Q4, maybe into Q1. But, you know, there's tons of factors there. Let me read chat for a second. Is anybody listening on Twitter? Last week there were a few people. Sorry, noises. Nick says he harvests crops. What's up, Dr. Manhattan? SHIB and MSTX trades. You're sitting pretty. MSTR options are better than MSTX, probably. I'm just terrible with options. What's up, Dre? Forbidden. There we go. Yeah, I'm just making sure it's working, because sometimes I'm not sure. Thanks, guys. If anybody wants me to look at anything, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking into the abyss. As far as the market goes, for everything else, no matter what I say, someone gets mad at me. I had this comment on a video yesterday, and I was talking about alts. I guess they assumed that I take every trade. So maybe I need to be more clear. I don't take every trade. We look at a lot of stuff. We look at a lot of markets. I take as many trades as I think I should take. If I say something's an easy trade, that doesn't mean I necessarily took the trade. But usually we're pretty good at identifying like what looks good, what looks decent. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean it doesn't move. This was a specific example that somebody in the comment brought up. I'd made some comment last week about Tau being flat on Kraken. I think the issue I had with the chart is there wasn't a lot of data on Kraken. That's my excuse anyway. But clearly, I'm always looking for like 6 things. If it's not those 6 things, then I don't take the trade. If it's an alt, I'm even less likely to take the trade. I tried to listen back to the stream, but I thought I had said, yeah, it's flat, there's a triple bottom, or it's flat, it's in a range. Now, do you ever expect this to go to infinity? No, but you just want to be there in case it does, right? So you plant your seeds. You say, okay, here's a great example. Here's a trade I took today, okay? BT. trade I took today. It is a Bitcoin miner. Effectively, it's BTC on leverage. It is in a range. It's been in a tight range for months, over a year. It's been in this range. It's above the cloud. I don't know where this goes. Does this go to 10? I don't know. I want to be there if it does. So that is a trade I took. That is a buy for me. That is an add on a breakout. That is a hold until until 10. Maybe I just need to use more specific language. But I did have two people message me and say, hey, I caught the trade on SHIB. Thanks for looking at that and talking about that. Someone else messaged me about SUI. They had a 50% trade on that. So it's not everybody giving me crap, but I appreciate the comments either way. I appreciate the constructive criticism either way. Could you test subscription posts on Twitter? I can. Yes, I have to figure out how to do that, but I will. I finally said something nice about ADA. I did. Sanzi's from Russia. What's up? Florida. Do you think time of year is relevant, or we have chasing patterns where there's nothing? Time of year is very relevant. If you followed me for, I don't know, 2016. In 2016, we were talking about this idea for BTC that we have these on-off quarters. So this was before seasonality was as established as it is. But back here, we were talking about bull, bear, bull, bear, bull, bear. And there's some chart I have out there with something about Q1 being bearish just because it was like the odd quarter or whatever. And that happened, but it's not like, again, it's just like theoretical. We're trying to figure out possibilities here. What is the roadmap? What is the decision tree look like potentially? And so, yeah, you got to think if we are at, what's a 4x? I don't even know. Like if we are in like the 150s, the 200s in Q4, you'd have to imagine we hit some sort of resistance, just like we did here, right? We hit some sort of resistance. It doesn't mean we have to roll over like we did in 2022 or 2016, 2017, 2018, whatever year that was, 2018. We don't have to roll over, but at some point, the unrealized profits get too insane, too juicy, funding gets too high, open interest gets too high, right? All of these things that typically we see, things get too frothy, Coinbase goes down, Kraken goes down, right? We see all the typical stuff. That's what I'd expect to see way up here. If we're bullish, right? We certainly saw some of that in March of this year. So again, that's just like non-price stuff to watch for, but it would line up with when we roll over. You know, we roll over typically Q1. That's typically when we roll over. So that would make sense for sure. Thanks, Dre. What did I say nice about ADA? Yeah, with any chart that is sitting at all-time lows, any chart, all-time lows, multi-month lows, multi-year lows, you can always say, this is a forever trade. If I never mention this again, it's always on the table. You can always say, hey, okay, whatever this is, so this is ADA BTC, whatever this is down here, might not be a pattern, the trend, I have no idea, might be ranging, might be a triple bottom, might be a double bottom, whatever. You can always say, I like this coin, I like Charles, he's a genius, whatever your reasoning might be. But you can always say, I'm going to take this trade, stop losses, lower lows. That's why a lot of people take these trades. More people take these trades when price is flat for months and months and months. So sure, right? But my issue is not people who take this trade. My issue is people who have been holding this since 2022, and every 50% lower, they're like, okay, this is the bottom, this is the bottom, this is the bottom. That's my issue. So yeah, this could be the bottom. Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and celebrate that I took a trade on Cardano if it bounces. I will never take a trade on Cardano personally. I just don't see the need for it. There's other stuff to trade, but yeah, that's a trade you could take. The thing is, it's not limited to Cardano here. You could say the same thing, and I did, about SHIB on the video yesterday. I said something like, this thing is down 70%. It's held flat for several months. And it did well today. I didn't know that, obviously, but it just looked like it was ready to, let me pull it up this way. It just looked like it was ready to go, So it's not about, there's nothing to do with what this is. It's not about the fundamentals. It's just like, hey, this thing has done nothing for a long time. People know what this is. People know what to do. And this is the difference between Monero and SHIB. Sorry. I agree with you. Monero is great. Love it. But it's not going to move the way SHIB, the way these meme coins are moving. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. With Pepe, DYDX, Caspa. Just reading chat here. If you hear me talk about something that you don't see in the chat, it's because somebody is mentioning it on YouTube or Twitter. Copper. Yes. Where do we want to start? Let's just quickly do BTC. We'll go from there. Also, I always look at the volume column here. Look at how low ETH is in the volume column. 25 million on Kraken. Now you could say, well, this is just the exchange, maybe on a different exchange, ETH is higher in the volume tables, but that's not a good sign. Doge is half the volume of ETH on Kraken. Some of this is Robinhood too, I think. Some of the flows come from Robinhood. I don't know if that's changed, but I don't know. Just interesting. So for BTC, what am I going to say? Well, as the title of this stream suggests, it's getting harder and harder to be convinced that this is going to return to the bottom of the range. The issue with this type of gross chop is, at what point are people en masse convinced, right, that this is the bottom, that this won't drop down? My answer is always, you don't have to make a decision. You just say, okay, each successive high, each higher high, we get more and more confident. So the next level up is 68. Doesn't mean we'll go straight through it. Doesn't mean we'll go to it tomorrow. It's just that's the next level, right? And then after that, what's the next level? 71. So this is a confidence question. This is a sizing question. Could you absolutely get run over buying the highs like you have every single time in the range? Absolutely. But that's where the other information comes into play. Calendar, seasonality, liquidity, China, rates. To me, it looks a little different on the other side of the macro column than it did in August or July, even in May. So the TA here, honestly, has been not great, right? The cloud has not performed well. Now, to be fair to the cloud does not do well the ranges. That is a known weakness of the cloud. The cloud needs a trend, but it's a bit of a chicken and the egg problem, because if you aren't sure that there's a trend or not, should you be even using the cloud in the first place? Shouldn't you use the cloud to confirm the trend, right? But where we're sitting now, we're above the cloud. We'll get a bullish TK cross today. We'll get a bullish cloud within the next couple days. I would love to see the red line here, the Kijun. That's the midpoint the average. I would love to see that start to pull up, and that's going to take some time. But that is also something to watch, because thus far our average has only gotten lower and lower and lower, if you can see it there. Also not bullish, right? You know, that's just echoing what we're seeing within the range, but seeing the Kijun pull up would be bullish. A lot of this is like, duh, right? But it's saying in the past 60 periods, the mean, the 50% average, is pulling up. So that would be great to see, because what you really want to do is like, okay, we want to add, you know, I want to add when you're sure, maybe here, maybe lower, whatever. But something else, trying to find an example of it. Honestly, since 23, this whole range has just been, it's been rough. What you really want to do is like catch an early Kijun bounce. But even in 2020 to 2021, we get this Kijun bounce, but if you're waiting, how much percentage is this? This is, so it's already 150% move. So it kind of locks people out, waiting for like the perfect bounce or whatever. The other option is to wait for the Tenkin, the blue line, the quicker moving average, like we had this here. The quicker moving average catches up with price eventually. But because you always see people like, okay, you know, I didn't buy any at 60, at 62, 63, 65, 66, at 70. Now it's like, okay, what do I do? I'm late, blah, blah, blah. That's always the answer. The answer is, what I do is I buy some, just regardless, and then you can put bids at the TK levels. But this does not look like it is full-blown breakout just yet. It's certainly getting there. Certainly getting there. So I would love for us to range above 60 for a couple weeks into October. I think we'd be great. We'd be great. And that's kind of it. You know, it's kind of been the same thing this whole time. It's like, okay, can we make a higher high? Can we hold a higher high? Can we not make a lower low? It's kind of it. We've also got this, obviously, which is still there. Depending on how you want to measure this, that is basically where I have these levels set. So that would be, I don't expect this like necessarily even in October, but that would be a level to watch throughout Q4 into that 100K range once we get a real deal breakout. We've also got just a vanilla W down here as well. So this looks good. This will be the highest close if we close up here since August. So nobody should be surprised if you wake up one day and it's at 70K. I mean, that shouldn't be a surprise. This is what bullish markets do. Sol's better than ETH. Can we look at PAL? I took the get trade path for Sol. Flew to Sydney to Vegas. Every time we get somebody in a old trap. Do I think this time's different? Someone's asking about RSI on the weekly for BTC, and then we'll move on. RSI on the weekly for BTC. So when we are bullish, we tend to hold that 70 level on RSI, just as we did in January. And we are at 56. So if you're being honest with yourself about how this looks on high time frames, this is a no joke breakout potentially to 100K. That's what we're looking at here. So, I mean, there's only so many ways I can say that. But yes, the RSI looks good here. And I agree. If RSI gets above 80, then we're in be careful territory. We never got a a bear div up there, by the way. We just got oversold. Whereas in Feb 21, March 21, we got a bear div. But yes, RSI looks great. RSI looks great. Price looks great. Trend looks great. The last thing I'll say is, you probably can't see that. If we go to here, if we go Williams fractals, because that's the next question people ask is, okay, what do you use for trailing stop losses? So we're technically still in the range. I probably wouldn't use the trailing stop losses until we're above 70. And this is just Williams fractals. You can add them. You just type in WF. They pop up. It's the first thing. How this works is if you get a low, high, low, you get I color this red. This is a resistance fractal. High, low, high. You get a bullish fractal. So in a bullish environment, you never want to be breaking bullish fractals. If we're ranging, anything can happen. We can do anything, right? That's not what these are for necessarily. These are for trending markets. I don't think we're trending until we're above 70. So currently the trailing stop loss is at 57.7 on the daily. These will of course adjust for time frame, but you can backtest these. They work amazingly well for BTC, for ETH, for alts. For alts, I like to go down a time frame, but for the last move, the fractals worked exactly how you'd expect. This was the resistance fractal. This was the support fractal. We didn't break below those. This was a chart pattern. We broke out. Okay, we hit the next resistance level. And then you get a couple more support fractals. We didn't break below those. So that's your trailing stop loss. And then on the way up, the trailing stop loss that got tripped was here at 67. So from 43 to 67, that's a pretty monster move. And that's what ideally you catch from here to 80, 90, 100, whatever it is, when this decides to break up. Just reading chat. Yeah, Joey's mentioned this a couple times. Dips to the 10 moving average, similar to the Tenkin. So the 10 is at 63. Anyway, BTC looks good. If you trade alts, you want BTC to be bullish. What else do we want? Let me just, I haven't looked at S&P today. Let me just look at this real quick. Where is it? S&P kind of on the struggle bus, but it is at all-time highs. Just like alts want BTC to be bullish, BTC wants legacy to not be bearish. It doesn't need to go to infinity. Nvidia can hold these levels, whatever. We just don't want legacy crashing on us. So that looks good. Miners look good. We'll take a look at those. All right, so the rest of the charts here. There's always a trade setup on every chart. We went over, someone asked me last week about Sol. And I said, is it still on here? Yeah, here we go. Just like I said for ADA, as long as you have a defined low that you believe in, not like, okay, we hit this on a 5-minute a few times. Like this is a monthly low, okay? Clearly there's some horizontal here. It fit 125, 127. So last week we were talking about how would you set up a trade on Solana. I said stop loss at new lows, lower lows, whatever. Losing that low would be huge for the range. And then I said, so you open some at current price and then you just keep adding on the way up, right? So we've hit one of those adds up here. And at this point you'd be in 50% of the size, basically is how I think about it. Just as an example, a theoretical, hypothetical trade that I did not take. This would be a buy for me. Just want to make sure I get the language clear so people aren't angry. But yes, Sol looks better and better than it has been. It's not hanging out at lows. It's trying to make a higher high. Does it look convincingly turbo uber bullish? No, it does not. But yeah, back to the middle of the range. Looks fine. Someone's asking about earlier a case Sol to 500, Sol to infinity. There's two things to watch on Sol. Two things. The first is the obvious, and that is if this range ends up being bullish, where does this go? Much like BTC to 80, 90, 100, Sol, a 2x on Sol, possible. Absolutely possible. And you might say, you know what, that doesn't sound right. Well, let's take a look at one example where that happened. Let's look at BNB. BNB still in the process of recovering from its multi-year triangle. This for BNB measures to like 2000. Okay, like, so some of this stuff's going to move fast, some of it is not. But that's the idea for Sol. The first idea is, what does a range break higher look like? So from there, you could say, all right, I think BTC is going here. I think Sol's going here. Maybe Sol's a better trade. Maybe I shouldn't ignore Sol, something like that, right? Relative value type stuff. But yeah, you could do this. You could say it's a triangle breaking up. You could say this over here is some sort of double bottom into potential triple bottom, but it's still fairly neutral with momentum. This, it's just to the back in the middle of the range, right? It's not really breaking out per se, but yeah, it looks good. So that's the first thing to watch. This will be the first target if things get silly in Q4. The next target, if things get silly in 2025, is this monster here. Just like BTC's 300K target, like, do I legitimately think Sol can go to 6,000? I do not. I do not think so. It would probably be worth more than the market cap of the world or something, right? It gets impossible. So yes, you can say we think this is a cup and handle or whatever, right? You can say there's technical evidence that this could be a cup and handle. It's there. Is it realistic? I don't know. But let's look at other examples where this stuff actually happened. BTC being one of them in 2016. The other being gold. like this stuff isn't impossible. It isn't impossible. But I wouldn't assume that it goes there, But sure, that's on the table. That's on the table. And there are a lot of charts that look like this. The BTC target is 3,000 something, or sorry, 300,000 something. So those are the two things for Sol that I would watch. The real trade here, the target, yeah, we know it, like, yeah, it could go there, whatever, who cares? But the real thing to do is when this breaks out again, if it does, you use the trailing stop losses for whatever percentage of the trade. And you can see in the range, this is junk. This is garbled nonsense, right? But once it starts to break out, then you can use some sort of trailing stop loss. Maybe you trim, maybe you shave the position versus if you really think this is going to 3,000, what are you doing? Listen to this stream, go open a lemonade stand and just try to buy as much Sol as you can get. But the trailing stop losses are your friend, for sure. And technically, I don't think this has actually tripped a trailing stop loss on the weekly. Has it? I don't think it has. So each level replaces the previous level. So this is the breakout. This is kind of like the congregation of levels, and it's a close below these levels. So it's technically telling you, hey, if you traded this from 28, you should still be holding because it never made a lower low. And that just echoes the importance of the range low that it's held. You don't want to lose that level. All right, so that's Solana. Honestly, it's pretty clear. Now, I don't want to hear a comment. He said it was an easy trade. He didn't take the trade, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying the trade plan here is very obvious to me. If you think it's going higher, go for it, but it's still flat momentum-wise. ETH. Yeah, I'll take a look at apt and Doge and all that stuff. This is another challenge with ETH. Like, the technicals are echoing what everyone's kind of feeling about ETH. Me personally, I see a lot of people. Again, they've been holding ETH for years. It's been underperforming. It underperformed BTC. It underperformed Solana. It's going to underperform some of these other coins. So yeah, what do I see here? Clearly, I talked about a falling wedge at some point, so sure. But it's still pretty far below the cloud. Doesn't mean this can't be the bottom, but I said this a bunch already. I would love to see a very obvious triple bottom here going into deep into Q4. I don't think it will form a right shoulder. If BTC takes off, ETH is going to get dragged up with it. So you got to pay attention to that. But this is much less of an obvious long than many other charts have been in the same time period. So ETH will stick around for years, but when it's in this weird period where other coins are outperforming, there's even less of a reason to trade this, right? Like until you are in this period, there's kind of no reason because there's other stuff that looks way better. So we probably see this again late into Q4. I would want to see a move at least above 27, but ultimately above the cloud, like I always like, is where you want to live. Bullish TK cross into the cloud. That's a trade you could take, but you'll notice this level at 3,000 or whatever was the previous support. So that's going to be an important level to recapture. But this doesn't look like anything, you know? I mean, I'm just being honest. Just being honest. So again, we can look at the flows. We can look at gas. We can like make up a narrative and think this is how it gets there. This looks good. Blah blah blah. But it just doesn't matter. Look at the price. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So it just drives me nuts that people are like so obsessed with ETH doing well because they're just so deep in it. You know, like here's a great example: Doge versus ETH, right? This isn't even one of the crazy movers. Do they have? I don't think they have a Doge ETH pair on Kraken. No, they don't. Let me look. Let me make it on TradingView. Doge divided by ETH, right? And it, like, if you don't believe me, just pull up the chart. Pull up the chart on TradingView. Doge has outperformed ETH since July. Since July. This here is what you want to avoid. And any pair, right? This is always bearish. This is always bullish. Okay. So you want to avoid that. But this has been like a one-way shot. And even down here, you could say this whole thing was like a triple bottom or something. So I do this all the time. Like if I'm not sure, what looks better, Say or Sui or Apt or whatever. Just put them against each other. Like you've got TA. If you're watching this channel, you probably know what you're doing. Long term, it looks like Doge ETH is just in a range, but like right now, yeah, I own 0 ETH outside of trading transaction fees stuff, but I do own a bunch of Doge. Chart looks good. Chart looks really good. Falling wedge into the cloud, maybe bullish TK cross. So yeah, I like it. I like Doge. Doge looks great. ETH is like herpes, it'll be back when you don't expect it. It's true. It's true. I guess the other thing is like what is the next potential catalyst for any of these other layer ones outside of price moving? Is it DPIN? Is it RWA? Is it tokenization? Is it lending and borrowing? Is it DeFi? Like, I don't know. I like buying stuff that goes up. So that's why I like Doge here. That's why I've liked Doge here. And I think we even talked about it. Like every chart, again, I'll say it. You can always take the trade when there's a defined risk reward. As a setup, those are setups I like. The low here was fairly flat. And that's it. That's all there is to it. For me, this is something that I just hold. I hold until it looks stupid. Like, I'm talking like November, you know? Like, I don't even look at this every day. I'm just like, okay, cool. Doge, like, it'll go up, it'll go down. But it's starting to look decent again. Near also looks better than ETH. This might just be the ETH punching bag show. Clear W there at the bottom, trying to make its way through the cloud. Just because I like something doesn't mean it's necessarily a trade, right? But if it's a buy, hold, or sell, this would be a hold. I like buying this above the cloud, as always, but it's a great sign that it held that low. It is obviously up, right? This is another thing people yell at me about. It's up 50% from the bottom. So yeah, if you know the bottom, you're doing great. Did I know that was the bottom? I didn't know that was the bottom. So you're better than me. Say, SEI. Another one we talked about. There was a defined risk reward profile. We took the trade, or we set up a trade. Did I take this trade? I did not take this trade, but at the time it was a buy. It's looking better and better. It is above the cloud. Looks great. Looks great. At this point, here's the other thing. You got to think, okay, all of these charts were down 60, 70, 80% from the highs just put in a few months ago. So is there enough juice to push these down another 50%? Maybe, but I think probability-wise, it's probably more likely that they try to pull up a little bit first. And you're seeing that with all these falling wedges. I talked about Total 2. Total 2 clearly had a falling wedge for a long time. It's trying to break up. It's trying to double bottom. So yeah, these charts look good. Charts look good. Ripple just flat. Honestly, nothing going on there. SHIB, a bunch of people asking me about this. Talked about it already, but double bottom looked great into the cloud. From here on out, this probably, if I had to guess, probably just holds this level, holds this range, maybe goes again later in Q4. But that would be the next trade to take. So first you had like this, I don't know, falling wedge channel thing, down like 80% into the cloud, great. This is where people tend to get into trouble because they're like, okay, this is finally bullish, it's up 20% in the day, I'm gonna start buying it, and then they get chopped up here, and then they probably sell, and then it breaks out again, and then they're late again, right? So if you don't have a plan, you're not going to have a good time. But if I was holding this from the cloud, I would have sold it today. So for me, this would be a sell. Sell, sell, sell. Whiff, people are asking me about whiff. Bunch of scribble scratch on here. Whiff has a more defined bottom profile here, triple bottom profile. As a group, we also have to think as a group. SHIB's up 20. What are the other ones? Hold on. What is it? It's SHIB, Bonk, SHIB, Pepe, Doge, Whiff, Floki, right? SHIB's up 20. Whiff was up a crazy amount, probably 20% this week. So, sorry, as a group, you also have to think like, okay, do we really think these are going to keep going right now, or are they going to reconsolidate a little bit? That's a personal choice. It's still in the range. This would be a hold for me. I don't think I would buy it up here, but that would be a hold for me. I need to say that clearly. Hold. So I like this above the cloud. Some of the other ones, Pepe looks fine. Pepe's at resistance, maybe double bottom, maybe triple bottom eventually. Somewhere between a buy and a hold. It's not up a ridiculous amount in a day, like SHIB. But it looks okay. Looks okay. Bonk also up a lot. Also ranging. And just like everything else, if this gets silly, if this gets stupid, let's just make a conservative target, right? Like this is a 200% move, okay? Like, and that's conservative. So if you think a chart on anything realistically has a 300% move, why are you day trading it? Just hold it. Hold it. Give it some time. Day trade the partial position, whatever, right? But yeah, theoretically, if this gets silly and breaks out, I would love to see this, like everything else, kind of triple bottom into like Thanksgiving, and then everybody gets together for Thanksgiving and like, oh man, are you trading these meme coins, bro? Then it's like word of mouth, things explode, something like that. But yes, Bonk looks good. It would be a buy for me. Bonk would be a buy. Bonk is a buy. I'm not buying Bonk, but as an analyst, as my opinion, it would be a buy. Okay. I just need to make that clear. FET. FET would probably be a hold for me. It would be a hold for me. It is through the cloud, hasn't broken out of the cloud, has a higher target to go, looks okay. Looks better than ETH, right? Looks better than ETH. It's got AI narrative. So if NVIDIA, here's something else obviously that I think most people are watching, if NVIDIA breaks up, then you expect anything AI related to do very, very well. NVIDIA's kind of stuck in this triangle. Yeah, stuck in this triangle. So if this breaks up, and this is like the BTC problem, right? I assume people are just going to be adding at every level because there's not like a defined area for the market to say, this is it, this is the big one, like there was here, right? That's why horizontals are always better. Down here, everybody knew what to do. You break all-time highs, you break 100 or 1,000 or whatever it was at the time. Everybody knows what to do. Here, people are like, I don't know. It's still kind of at the top of the range. It's in the range. This could go back down to the middle of the range, the bottom of the range. So it's much less obvious. It's more murky as far as human behavior is concerned. And I think that's what you're seeing in price there. What's up, Ogle? So if NVIDIA breaks out, I'd expect all the AI coins to do well. So FET would be a hold for me. A hold for me. SUI would be a sell for me. A sell for me. Why? Because it's up infinity very quickly. On a relative basis, it has done the best out of anything, I'd imagine, in September. Much like Tau, we'll go to Tau in a second. So if we play the fractal game on SUI, you can't really see it. We'll go to SUI. Fractal game. As an example, because you have to get comfortable. You have to get comfortable like looking for this. So here immediately you get stopped out. So maybe the 4 hour is not great. You get stopped out again. Okay, the alternative side of this is anytime we break above fractals, you are adding to your position. So let's just go to the 8 hour just to see if it's clearer, and it's perfect on the 8 hour. So I would use the 8 hour. That's you just figuring out the timing of the market. How fast is the market moving? What is the speed of the market? So down here, we talked about this on this very channel. Many people were asking me about it. If on the daily you're like, okay, there's some sort of something down here, it's all sorts of things. Is it a diamond? Is it an inverted head and shoulders? I don't know, whatever. At the very least, it was a bullish daily breakout on the cloud. On the daily cloud, or on the daily time frame, there's 0 fractals, okay? So that's not gonna help you. Your trailing stop loss is currently on the daily at 86. That's not gonna help you. The 12 hour gives you good signals, current stop loss at 150. So that's worked out. And you're just visually backtesting here. Depending on, if you're up 2,000%, maybe you go down the time frames to just capture some of that unrealized profit a little quicker. But on the 8 hour, this has been on the money as far as not stopping you out falsely so far. It's not giving you a fake signal. So trailing stop loss, trailing stop loss, trailing stop loss, trailing stop loss, trailing stop loss. So the current trailing stop loss on this is at 166. So that is a guaranteed, if from the breakout, so far a guaranteed 65%. Should you have taken that trade? I did not take this trade. I need to make that clear. But this would be more of a sell than a buy or a hold for me, just because it is up a lot relative to everything else. That doesn't mean it can't keep going, but I wouldn't trade this up here. Nor did I at any point trade this coin. Tau, we'll take a look. So immediately you can tell on Tau, you are getting a trailing stop loss breach for the first time since the breakout. Assuming you were watching this down here and you said to yourself, I know what this is. That looks familiar. Okay. If you traded this at 352 to here, you've had 0 trailing stop loss breaches and you are up 50%. Great trade. So that would be something to watch for SUI. That has not happened yet. Someone and many other people asking me about coins that have just been listed. PopCat. So Tau would be a sell for me. It would be a sell for me. I don't know what the best exchange for this would be. Maybe crypto.com. I don't have anything to say because it just got listed a couple months ago. Is there anything here that looks like anything? I don't know. You can always take the range, measure it higher, and say, yeah, $2. right? Like, that's a thing. That's a thing. I might not say it every time. I might not say it every video, but that's a thing. I might not like the trade, but that is a thing. I need to be clear. I need to be clear. It looks fine. Yeah, I got nothing. It looks fine. Trailing stop losses don't really say anything as far as, again, I don't know where people are getting in this. I don't know who's telling people to get in this. I don't know why people are getting in this. Looks fine. I got nothing. Trailing stop loss would be like 83, something like that. Bybit. I love this. So Kush, first comment, meme's gonna meme. This is off Twitter. Second comment, fundamentals mostly win in the end. I love that. I love that. His next sentence is, doesn't mean they don't get outperformed by garbage in the meantime. I agree. So look, if you're like, you know what? I'm bullish ETH. I'm bullish ETH, but I'm gonna trade around it until it looks good. But in the meantime, I'm gonna trade memes, cut those quickly, like within a week's time, and buy ETH, right? That's a relative value thing. That's not necessarily technicals or trend telling you that. It's just saying, like, you've got a bunch of degen money trading junk, and if you think fundamentals are going to win, then yeah, buy ETH, buy BTC, buy SOL, whatever. Price action seems to be negatively correlated with utility. Yeah, I mean, this is outside of the majors, utility kind of has nothing to do with anything. It's all about casino. It's all about just straight gambling. Straight gambling. Someone asking about TIA. Looks okay. It is in the daily cloud. It looks like it probably bottomed. It would be a hold for me. It would be a hold for me. Just looking at the TA, it's in the cloud. It's got a bullish TK cross. Looks okay. The next question is obviously, okay, like, what's my sizing look like? What is the time frame look like? These are all like personal questions for you as the trader, but it looks fine. It doesn't look super exciting. And again, you could say, oh man, it's up 60% from the bottom, Josh. What do you mean it's not exciting? I'm just looking at the technicals. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say about that, okay? It is out of this nasty nonsense, at least trying to get out of this. I forget what this is called. Maybe just a broadening descending wedge. I don't know. It's trying to get out of that, though. Trying to get out of that. All right, we'll keep going. Render. Someone's asking me render. Render, I'll just go to Trading View because Kraken looks like it freshly listed there. Double bottom in the cloud. Looks fine. We can draw like a diagonal resistance all the way up here, which is basically the top of the cloud. You can measure the double bottom from the range and say, again, like 8 to 9. From here, that's not a great trade, but it's a trade. It's a trade. Thanks, Cryptoski. Sorry, I'm reading chat and forgetting what I'm supposed to do next. XLM. Let's just go to Kraken. XLM. XLM. Well, I can't say it's not above the daily cloud because it is. Does it look exciting? It's basically LTC. It's at a long-term horizontal support. Sorry, diagonal support. So like, look, just because I gotta say this, because if I don't, someone's gonna say, man, you said this, but you didn't say this. You can always take the trade. Say, there's my stop loss. There's my stop loss, boys and girls. That is a multi-year low. If we make a new multi-year low, I'm out. Trend not currently on your side on the weekly. If trend was on your side, maybe you'd size that up accordingly, make it bigger. Here, I'd go small. I would wait. But if you like it, I don't love it, but if you like it, this would be an avoid for me. This would be an avoid for me. If we map this out, oh, come on. There we go. Stop loss here, entry here, target. Your target would be 50% of the range, which is basically there. That's the trade. Okay, that's a 6 on risk reward. There are lots of trades, boys and girls, that you'll see on any given day. You don't have to take them all. But that is a trade. $5 on Stellar? No, I don't think so. Must be something else. This, you know, just nothing going on there with XLM. Link looks like render to me, right? A few of these others. It doesn't look bearish. Is this like a slam dunk runaway multi-bagger? I don't think so, but it doesn't look bearish. About the best I can do. This will be a hold for me. This will be a hold for me. I'm gonna get so many comments saying like, "You're so annoying, bro." This will be a hold for me. It looks okay. I don't know. Yeah, you're allowed to request anything you want. Epidemic. What else haven't I talked about? Aptos, somebody was asking about that. Looks great, love it. Triple bottom. We talked about this last week. Bullish cloud breakout, triple bottom, quad bottom, quintuple bottom, above the neckline, above the daily cloud. Absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Buy, buy, buy. Not a recommendation. This is not trading advice. Again, I got to make myself clear. Looks great. What would your first target be? something 9 to 10. But you always want to be here for the trend, obviously. So that's why I like it. Looks good. What else? What else? Algo. And I'll talk about miners here, and then we'll call it. We don't need to make this another multi-saga, multi-hour thing. Looks fine. Algo. It's got the trappings of a triple bottom thing, similar to Tia. Not super exciting, but it's trying to bottom. Looks okay. Looks okay. Hondo. Looks fine. Kind of moving too fast for the cloud to pick up on it. It looks okay. It's in this weird spot where it's like in the cloud without a TK cross. That's bullish. It's above the neckline. It's in a weird spot. I'd like it better if it consolidates a little lower, but it looks great. It looks great. ENA, someone's asking about. ENA's another one that it was down 80%. Maybe with rates coming down and people using DeFi again, premiums on perps, whatever, like the fundamentals of why people buy this thing. Maybe ENA will do better. But you got to be careful, right? Because you're dealing with issuance, you're dealing with a bunch of stuff. And yes, I know BlackRock did something with something cool, awesome, great, amazing, love it. You don't have to assume that this coin is going to go to infinity because BlackRock did something with something. Okay. But yes, I would like this more if we get a confirmed triple bottom. The cloud, I put this line up here because the cloud is starting to draw a level up there at 66. I don't know. It looks okay. Right? Like, don't come after me in the comments now. If this goes to 66 tomorrow night, don't come after me and say, he just said it looks okay. He wasn't bullish enough on it. Sorry. It just looks okay. It just looks okay. VeChain, sure. VeChain, much like many other coins here. Double or triple bottom attempt in the cloud. We're in this weird like limbo middling period. I think until BTC breaks out cleanly, a lot of alts obviously getting stronger, but using the cloud or trend metrics, there's no clear like, yes, this is amazing. There are a few that have already moved, Sui being chief among them. There are a few that look like Aptos, Rune being one of them, where you're freshly out of the cloud. You have a fairly tight range here. You had a triple bottom here. Okay, you have the cloud twist coming up. This would be a buy for me. This would be a buy, not financial advice. Not financial advice, but this is the type of thing, just like the last time it happened, that's the type of thing I like to buy when it looks like this. So yes, I like this. And you know, if anything, listening to me talk about TIA and being bearish on it for months and then flipping, listening to me talk about Rune, do you know how much hate I got for being bearish? I was bearish Rune back here because I said this looks like a Head and Shoulders, okay? I got so much hate for that. So much hate for that. Did it go to my target? No, but it went down. The target is slightly lower than this. But this is why you look at this stuff at least once a week and you make a quick decision. Is this in a trend? Yes or no? Is this a buy, hold, or sell? Yes or no? And move on with your life, right? So yes, this looks like a great chart that I'd love to buy, similar to Aptos, looks great. Ocean, similar to FET. FTM, similar to FET, a little bit higher. My assumption with all of these is that they don't act like Sui. They don't just keep going. They don't just go and go and go and go. My assumption is that some of these, before the next move, pull back a little bit. So the other question is like, where would you put bids for all this stuff? And that's the Kijun. So like, look, the Kijun for Sui is all the way at $1.13. So you can have your trailing stop loss all the way up here, and then bids on the Kijun. Do they hit? I don't know. But if they do, you'll be very happy. Very happy. All right. Learn to love the hate. We live in the world where people don't know which path they're oh, God. Someone asking about STX, and then we'll take a look at miners. STX looks great. Love it. Love this chart. Clearly, we were talking about this a couple weeks at this point. Out of the downward channel. That's step one. Step two, we've formed some sort of bottom here. Step three, breaking out of the resistance, breaking above the cloud. Looks great. This would be a buy for me. I'm not buying this, but this would be a buy for me. This is what I like to see. This looks good. This looks like it looked last time. It looked like this. This is what you want to see after a retrenchment, after a drawdown, after a pullback. You want to see a multi-month bottom. That's why, again, I keep picking on ETH BTC because I just see so many desperate people. Bottoms do not get put in a day, okay? This could be the bottom. Could be the stone cold low forever. But can you be sure? You cannot. You cannot be sure. You really can't be sure until we are basically back above 0.55. Now you can bet that this is the bottom. You can bet that this is the bottom, as we've discussed on many charts today. Where is it? You can say, you know what? This guy doesn't know anything about anything. I'm going to put my stop loss at a new lower low, and my target is going to be, let's make something up, 0.8, right? You can take that trade. That trade is not for me, but you can take that trade if you like that trade. You can take that trade. Because what is the probability that this goes much lower after already being down 56%? Can it go down another 50%? Yes, but, odds are it's going to be tougher to go down another 50% and easier to go up 25, 50%. So far you're saying everything looks like a buy, but you're not. I'm mostly trading BTC. My confidence, my sizing, I could easily just say, yeah, I'm trading all this stuff and have $1 of it, right? as some people might. But my sizing, my positioning is mainly just BTC right now. That's it. Exactly because, like you said, BTC dominance still looks pretty clear that we're in an uptrend for dominance. No problem, Ents. I'm always glad somebody's getting something out of whatever I have to say, whatever the gibberish comes out of my mouth. Yeah, we talked about say. Where is it at? Here it is. What did I say about say? I think I said it looks good. It's a breakout. This would be a hold or a buy for me based on the cloud. The next step is just trade management after that. Phil wanted us to know he sold his SHIB. Good job, Phil. Yeah, this looks fine. This looks fine. The first step of any downtrend, a retracement of the retracement, if you will, is always the 50% level. The 50% level is 499.49. And we hit that. So the next step would be, can we hold this level, maybe consolidate, give this a little time. But yeah, next week, all of these charts probably look really good. Probably look a lot better than they do now. Because I assume BTC holds a level or continues. And if it doesn't, it pulls back. Alts pull back to even better prices in my mind. And it's always important to watch the leaders. If we get a pullback in BTC, let's say from 65 to 62 or 60 or something, what happens to SUI? Does SUI just collapse, right? What happens here? Does it collapse? Does it hold its level? Does it go the other way, which is unlikely? But that's also a big signal. So do we see a 30% drawdown on SUI if we see a 2% drawdown on BTC or whatever? We'll see. But I like this a lot better at 115 than I do up here. Yeah, Matic looks a lot worse to me than just about everything. What is there to like about this chart? Again, you can say, what does this guy know? He doesn't know anything. The Matic fundamentals are so bullish, bro. I'm making fun of people for that, but I shouldn't. you can say this is some sort of multi-year bottom. Yeah. Stop loss, new lows, right? That trade exists. Do I like to take those trades? I don't like to take those trades, but yeah, that trade exists. I don't see a bull trend here. It's still trying to bottom, you know. Like, if we can get this to do something into Q4, yeah, I like it a lot better. I like it a lot better as a rotation play out of the winners. Apt, Stacks. What was the other one we talked about? Rune. Those look like today trades. This looks like next month type trade to me. What is this? PCT? Are these bots coming in here? No, they're not bots. Serge, I'm making fun of them with the bro voice because there's obviously always another argument that you can make for the trade. Just because I don't say something doesn't mean you can take, you know, like, don't listen to me. What do I know? Okay. I hear it all the time. I hear it constantly. It's like, yes, I can acknowledge that that is an option. This looks like Monero to me, you know, it's done nothing for a long time. In a perfect world, you always want to see like the echo duration range match. And then you could say, yeah, this is a triple bottom, and that puts you into like 2030, right? Like this could take a while for this to break out. That's all. But yeah, it looks more bullish than it has looked for sure. For sure. BitX is at resistance here on the daily. Let's switch to clouds. At resistance, bit of a falling wedge situation, bit of a W attempt situation. This might put in another scoop-de-whoop low here. There's no like strong argument that this has to keep going here. It's at a crossroads. Can this break up? Can this hold a high? Can it make a higher high? It is not like the first run yet. Not like that yet. BITU basically the same. MSTR looks phenomenal to me. This is a strong buy. A strong buy. Why do I like it? It's above the daily cloud. Bullish TK cross today, tomorrow. Bullish cloud today, tomorrow. Looks great. We can pull up the comps, if you will. Charts that look similar. Sol, MSTR, Coin, CleanSpark. This is like a relative strength conversation, relative value conversation. Would I rather trade MSTR or CleanSpark here? MSTR all day. MSTR versus Coin. MSTR all day. MSTR versus Solana is a little closer because they're both roughly in the same spot. But both charts have held their low versus these other charts which did not hold their low. So on the one hand, you can argue CleanSpark and Coin have a higher percentage move potentially if they break up from the range, but they also have more to prove in regaining strength, right? So depending on what you like, but I like strength. Always like strength. So that looks good. We talked about Link. It looks okay. You know, a lot of these charts don't look crazy bearish anymore. They're trying to bottom. That's about as far as you can go with a lot of them. That's why I like these trades right now. I bought some MSTR today. I bought some MSTR last week, I think. I'd have to double check that, but this looks great. What else do you want? You've got a double bottom. You've got a head and shoulders that did not break down, being this here. Sound familiar? Sounds like Solana, right? Are you telling me Solana is just leverage BTC? That's exactly what I'm telling you. So we had this head and shoulders that did not break down. Price returning back to the range, back to the top of the range potentially. This measures to like 400, I think. Now, some of you may recall I was giving a certain character on Twitter a lot of flack here for saying, at the time they were saying something about MSTR going to infinity or something thereabouts. They're still saying that. I'm a little more grounded, I think, than them. So as opposed to MSTR to 500 in March, that seemed unlikely to me. Here, now that we've consolidated, now that there's some technical support, yeah, I like 265, 300. Non-conservative target, like max, would be 400. That's where I would like to let go of my position. But yeah, that chart looks great. There's also, on one of these charts, I've got a pitchfork. 400 is also a level up there. So MSTR looks good. Coin, like I said, the chart just doesn't look good. Again, you can always guess and say, this is the bottom, but it doesn't really have momentum on the daily. You know, like I loved Coin. I think we talked a ton about Coin back here. I loved it back here because it had a multi-month bottom. Here, it's just kind of trying to do something, right? It's trying to bottom. PayPal also looks great. Looks really, really good. Really, really good. Making higher highs, that's what we like to see. I own some PayPal. Full disclosure, I own at least $1 of PayPal. Just reading chat here. Thoughts on bonds? Yeah, we can talk about bonds. I did sell my TLT position today. So the idea with my own bond positioning was sit in yielding instruments at the very least, or bond instruments, to try to capture any potential upside here. Based on the technicals, you of course have the yield side of the equation, but sit in that stuff until I was sure that BTC was looking more bullish. So I've just been adding, like every other day, I trim some of the TLT, I cut other positions, whatever. That was last week. Today I fully cut the TLT position. I think trend-wise, they probably do okay. You can see shy here, it reached its measured move, or at least it's trying to almost get there. If you go to like the daily, some of these have moved very quickly, right? A lot of that was going into the rates decision, expecting a certain rates decision based on economic data, based on whatever. So I think in the near term, at least, to expect these to go any further, like much beyond the current price, would be asking a lot, personally. But hey, 5% yield is still 5% yield. If we look at like bills, this is one I'm still holding a little bit of. Bills with a dividend. You know, is this going to outperform? Is this going to outperform BTC from here? I have no idea, but I'd rather wait to be super sure that BTC is going to blast off before going all in BTC or all in MSTR or whatever. Sui has coin unlocks coming up. Even better of a reason to sell. Unlocks are linear, not a cliff. Solve your problems about leverage ETF. Would you stay away from TQQQ, ePro? Yeah, it's tough because, like, we can look at TQQQ specifically. Anytime you use leverage, you of course always want a very clear and obvious trend. You always want momentum on your side. You either want to be pre-breakout or in an active move. That's always the preference because you're of course paying for the privilege of using leverage either through funding or through fees, expense ratio, whatever. So the thing about TQQQ is the first question, do you think this is an obvious trend here? You could answer yes. I don't think that's necessarily wrong. The cloud doesn't hate it. There's like a W attempt. So if you've got a real deal obvious trend that's on your side, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. What you don't want is this like crazy volatile like chop stuff. Because of how it's rebalanced daily, you get volatility drag. So depending on where you bought this, when you bought this, I don't really know how to answer that question other than tell you like this is what I like to see. I like to see strength, obvious stuff going on. So it looks fine, and then it just becomes a confidence question. Do we think this can, if we take like a conservative measured move, 83 to 89 or something, this would be what I would want to see if I was trading this here. So, kind of depends on where you got in. I don't know. I don't have a great answer for you other than you don't really want to be holding this stuff for extended periods of time if the trend isn't obvious. Same here. Once GDP got revised, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, you've got two other headwinds headwinds against you if you're trading bonds to the long side here. You've got the soft landing potential, which I don't think is bullish for bonds beyond what we've already seen. It's probably neutral for bonds, but I don't think a soft landing or Goldilocks bonds would overperform relative to risk, aka BTC. And the other thing you've got is issuance. We just are issuing so much debt all over the curve that's going to act as a headwind for prices. So it's tough. It's tough. Okay, miners. Take a look at miners. Miners. I own some miners individually. Full disclosure. I own some miners individually. I do not own WGMI currently. But much like BTC, much like MSTR, there is this W. Maybe it's going to be a triple bottom into Q4. I don't know, right? I don't think it's super clear what this necessarily will morph into, but it looks like maybe Adam and Eve. Maybe. Trend-wise, this has been all over the place. I think we've talked about like some sort of channel thing. So you can just trade the range. But right now, WGMI not for me, really. I own some cores because cores has a, why does it look so gross up here? Had an all-time high breakout, had a head and shoulders, so I took this trade, still holding that. Wolf, one of the better looking miners. It looks better than WGMI. It's above trend metrics. It's above the cloud. I don't think, does this have a, I don't think has a defined channel as much as some of the others do. I don't know. I don't really think you can draw that, but anyway, relative to the cloud, it looks good. So it's definitely one of the stronger looking miners. CleanSpark did hit its range low target. So the next step is, can it hold this low? Can it recover? Right. So if you want to trade that, you can trade that, but it's not for me. IREN also looks decent. The issues like with the cloud, these have been so choppy. So it's almost like the cloud's not the best thing to use here, or the miners. Probably something like that. Just use the range. Just crazy bouncy range. Marathon still looks like junk to me. Sorry Marathon people. Just flat sideways. If we compare this to like BTBT, this chart looks really good to me. I like it because, again, it's got this multi-month consolidation. It's always the same thing with me. Josh wants one thing, and it's always an inverted head and shoulders. Anyway, this looks better to me than Marathon, better to me than CleanSpark, better to me than most of these. Riot also. I just screwing up my charts here. Hold on. I just don't like buying weakness personally. If I'm buying weakness, it's got to be because of a div or a chart pattern or something, but I don't really see anything here on Riot personally for me. Bitfarms at some point I talked about a triple bottom that sort of fell apart. Just looks flat, sideways, boring. I don't know. Looks okay, not great, not really for me. Cypher, huge bounce, still down significantly from highs put in July. Doesn't really look exciting to me. Doesn't look exciting to me. Hut, sideways chop for now, maybe triple bottom. But most of these Hive, just nothing here. Nothing here yet. Asterisk, caveat, some sort of diagonal there, clearly, but nothing there yet. So the miners I like, cores, BT, those are probably my two favorites. Yeah, sorry Joe, Marathon looks not great. Mag 7 quickly, NVIDIA, we talked about consolidating. Just think how to say this. This is probably closer to a 50-50 than it feels as far as the next move, but it's definitely teasing the top of the range. It's definitely bullish on the cloud. So it doesn't look awful. But again, it's a relative value thing. Like, would you rather trade this or would you rather trade bonk? Right? Like, you're probably going to trade bonk. Apple, to me, just likes chop. Looks like chop, even though there's probably some sort of... There's a couple patterns here that we've talked about, but I don't know. I just don't like this chart. I don't like this chart at all. Microsoft kind of battling a few things. Looks okay. Doesn't look great. I don't know. unless it's like leaping off the page, it's hard for me to say, yeah, this is great. You know, we had Meta sitting at all-time highs for a long time. We had cores sitting at all-time highs for a long time. Those charts I like. Sitting in the middle of a range isn't really for me. Netflix, I have no idea why this thing keeps going higher, but it does. I don't know. Is there a trade there? I don't know. I don't know. Amazon, similar to Microsoft, just okay. Google, maybe you watch for a triple bottom here. Inverted head and shoulders, neckline at 165. Just looks okay. So it's maybe a trade to consider. Tesla got back to 265. If the world is bullish, at some point we will probably see a move to 400. If the world is bullish. If the world is bullish, we will probably see a move higher. As much as I don't like that, it is what it is. I traded this down here. I haven't traded this again up here, but a trade that I'm thinking about is a 265 break. That's a potential inverted head and shoulders. So to me, Tesla looks better than all of the Mag 7. Uber just chilling up here. Looks good. I have some Uber. Full disclosure. Full disclosure. I like Uber to 90-100. IGV looks great. I have some IGV. I like it because it's a cup and handle. It is sitting, right? It's ready to go. The car is fueled and packed. Everything's ready to go for a breakout here. Fast or slow, I don't care. Looks great. Hack I do not own, but it looks similar. Hack also has that cup and handle characteristic to it. KWeb I of course sold at around 25, like a champion. Did not know that we were going to get QE Infinity for China, of course. But at some point, you have to say to yourself, you're sitting in a losing trade. Everything else is basically going up around it. This didn't hit a new low. You can see my line here was my alert for a stop loss lower lows. So had I been living in a vacuum and following my rules, I would still be holding this thing. And even though it's up what it's up, it still hasn't even broken out of the range. So realistically, this could go to 50. This could go to 50. I'm not going to touch it anymore. No more for me. Would rather just trade BTC with the money. But it looks good. DXY looks bad, which is good. DXY looks bearish. Looks ready to eventually break down here. This doesn't look like a bottom attempt just yet. So that's what we want to see. S&P that we talked about in the open just looks okay. It's tough because it's had like this double V bottom cup and handle, you know, like, yeah, like this probably eventually goes to 6,000, but I don't think it gets there in a straight line. Qs also look okay. Like I wouldn't be short any of this. I wouldn't have puts on any of this. I wouldn't do any of that nonsense. Just looks fine. This looks fine. Bonds we talked about. Lab U, I still have some of this. I probably shouldn't be holding this. There's a low time frame head and shoulders there. This is leveraged biotech. Lots of compression here, multi-year compression. I still like the chart on high time frames. Someone was asking about ARK. ARK is kind of a similar case. Just flat for a very long time here. But what it does have on its side is continuous higher lows. So maybe into 2025 it does better. I don't know. It's just like ranging, you know, but it's bullish ranging. Compare this to like Roblox. Damn it. Roblox, pretty nasty reversal today, but looks closer to being in breakout territory. Yeah, some sideways on the SPY wouldn't be the worst thing. I agree for sure. USD JPY. What do we got here? I don't know. It's clearly on the bearish half of the cloud. I don't know. Is this trying to like head and shoulders bottom here? Kind of too early to say anything. Kind of all over the place. Carvana, someone asked about. Carvana, frickin' Vana. I wouldn't touch this here just because it's up a crazy amount. There was a point in time when we talked about Carvana back here because of the double inverted head and shoulders stuff. So there was this one, and then there was one here. This is probably all right. So it's not quite to the mega inverted head and shoulders target, but the risk reward up here, should you enter the trade today, which I would not do, is not as good as it was at 55. And I know a lot of people who traded this down here. It looks like Bitcoin dominance, right? Like it's it's not like a crazy strong trend, but it is a trend. Dominance looks fine. Bitcoin dominance, no issues there at all. We haven't really even made a lower low in a very long time on dominance. So dominance looks fine. Yeah, I agree, Joe. Commons, not calls, for sure, on Tesla. VZ, Verizon? What does Verizon look like? Verizon, fine. Looks fine. It's coming out of this like high and tight flag here. It is in the take profit territory of this pattern. Just okay. I don't got anything. 55 to 80 on what? Rocket Lab. I have not looked at this today. Let's take a look. Yeah, the challenge here, I'm trying to remember what I said last week, but the challenge here is it had a series of double bottom, triple bottom, quad bottom stuff. It's back at the horizontal resistance, broke above that. Is it a buy, hold, or sell here? It's a hold. I don't know if it's a screaming buy, but it's a hold. Trailing stop loss, if I can find it on here. Trailing stop loss is probably at like 7. But I think you have to give this time to play out, just because it was arranging for 3 years. So I think you got to give that one time. Anything else before we get out of here? Pfizer still holding this junk. Probably trim tomorrow. Probably, depending on how BTC looks. What else? Oh, I added this. Somebody on stream, probably Nerk, if I had to guess, with his screener, mentioned this one. This is Invesco, the company that runs QQQ. Added this to the port yesterday for probably an obvious reason. It broke out of the multi-year horizontal. So that looks good. Looks good. Oh yeah, right. Metals, and then we'll get out of here. Gold looks fine, has looked fine. Not really much to say. It's at the multi-year inverted head and shoulders target, but there's a huge like cup and handle target that's way up there. When you've got China printing infinity money, you'd expect gold to do well. Silver, it's like the Apple chart. It's just not for me. It's way too volatile, but it looks fine. It looks fine. I don't really have anything else to say. It looks fine. Gold probably, or sorry, gold. Oil probably angry on China weakness, if I had to imagine. WPM, gold and silver miner, continues to look good. Shout out to Vainsky on that one. Bit of a rising wedge, but looks good. I wouldn't add here. This would be a hold for me. That would be a hold for me. Copper, Copex, Copper had, so it had that speculative run on like AI utility, whatever, coming out of this multi-year triple bottom inverted head and shoulders thing. Had a little mini head and shoulders here, broke below the cloud, then it W'd here, so it's just like pattern city over and over again. It's back above the cloud. It looks better than it did at this time last time, right? Like 48 looked not as good as it does now. So yeah, that looks like a buy, right? Doesn't it? Looks like a buy. I cut TLT because I think BTC is a faster horse. That's my TLDR on that one. It was a large TLT position as well, so I wanted to, as I said a bunch already, if BTC is breaking levels, I want to keep adding as it goes up. That's copper. Copper looks fine. You just got to be careful because it's so volatile. CCJ. This is it a gold miner? I think it's a gold miner. Looks fine. Looks okay. Buy, sell, or hold. I think you hold or buy. It's between like buy and hold. I don't think you sell this here. Even uranium. What's funny is like the commodity complex, whether it's uranium, any metal, whether it's platinum and palladium, like they all kind of trade the same. Which you tell me about fundamentals and utility. Like, does it matter? Does it matter? These are very different things. Uranium versus gold, copper, silver. This platinum palladium chart also looks very interesting. Uranium, I'm not holding uranium now. Cut this a while back, but this double bottomed. This looks okay. So yeah, a lot of the stuff bouncing off the China news, you know. Oh, Kamiko's a uranium miner? See, all it took was printing infinity dollars from a world superpower. That's all it took. I think that's all I got for today. New York Community Bank is another one for people that like trading the banks, which I do not, but I've been watching this for a while. Very interesting little consolidation here. It's kind of like the miners, like a penny stock type deal. It's not a penny stock, but it has these very large moves where if this does break up for whatever reason, it's like a 2x plus, right? So it looks decent. This would be a buy consideration for me. So I think that's all I have for this one. Chris, I cannot give you financial advice, my good friend, but what I can tell you is what I did today, which is cut the TLT position entirely, closed it entirely. I bought MSTR, I bought BitB, and I bought BTBT. That's what I did with the proceeds on that one. Still holding bills, BILS. I like that here as well, in case I'm wrong. How about BTC? And that's it. That's all we got. Toss me a like, comment, whatever you like. Just let me know you're here. Let me know you're alive. And we'll see you Sunday for Setup Sunday. Now I just got to figure out how to close this thing. Thanks for hanging out. I'm using Restream, and it's not obvious how I get out of this thing. Not obvious.